Hello gun lovers, this is Mike, your local FFL dealer. For this video, I'll go over what you need to know about private party transfer. Before we move on, please subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video. A little disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, so you should seek professional advice. So what is a private party transfer, also known as PTT? For some newbie gun owner, it sounds like a fun orgy party, loud music, and plenty of beer to go around. I'm sorry to disappoint, but no exchanges of bodily fluids, no beers, and no music. Private party transfer means a non-licensed individual is allowed to sell firearms to another non-licensed individual, but must use an FFL dealer who is a licensed firearm dealer as an intermediary to make the transfer of firearm legal. The FFL dealer who you will encounter often works in a gun store or work at an office. They have local permits and they are licensed by the federal and state governments to process the firearms. Moreover, there are a few different types of firearm transfer with some variation of California law. I will briefly mention the three most common transfers. These are private party transfer, which I briefly explained. Second type is the interstate familial transfer, where one lives here in California and the other family member lives in another state. Lastly, there's the intra-state familial transfer, which both family members live here in California and does not require an FFL dealer. It has different sets of rules than the first two I just mentioned. I should have two videos about interstate and intrastate familial transfer available for you to watch. Now let's get back to PPT by answering some common questions. Joseph, who is one of my clients, asked, what other information do I need to know about PPT? There are two types of PPT that you need to know. The first is intrastate PPT, meaning the transfer of firearm between two California residents. The second type of PPT is the interstate PPT, meaning the transfer of firearm from a non-California resident to someone who resides here in California. Let's talk about the intrastate PPT first. FFL dealer in the state of California can only charge no more than $47.19 fee. However, only $10 goes to the FFL dealer and the rest goes to the state of California. Second, a licensee, which is an FFL dealer, shall agree to and shall act promptly and properly in processing of this type of firearm transaction. Unfortunately, there are many FFL dealers who are refusing or circumventing intrastate PPT since it is time-consuming process for only 10 lousy bucks. Remember that the average FFL dealer fee is about $80 just to cover the cost of doing business. Per the California Department of Justice, both the buyer and the seller who are California resident must be present for the intrastate transfer to occur. Then there's the interstate PPT. The seller is from out of state and the buyer is a California resident. Unlike intrastate transfer, interstate transfer fee are set by the dealer and not by the law. The seller must ship the firearm to the California FFL dealer for the transfer to be legal. Another client, Kamala, asked, what's the difference between private party transfer compared to buying from a gun store? PPT transfer involves buying a used gun from an individual who is not licensed dealer, while gun store purchases are for new guns and the FFL dealer who works for the gun store is selling directly to the buyer, which is you. Gun stores do also sell used guns, by the way. Unlike buying a new firearm, purchasing a used gun by way of PPT are exempted from one handgun in 30 days. Unfortunately, this rule does not apply to the city of Los Angeles. PPT is also exempted from the firearm roster, meaning you can buy a used newer version gun that is not on the roster. There have not been any newer model handguns newer than 2013 added to the roster since no manufacturer are capable of micro-stamping. Unfortunately, PPT transactions are still subjected to the 10-day waiting period. Firearm locking devices, the buyer must be age of 21 or older. They must possess a firearm safety certificate, demonstrate proper firearm safety handling, and most importantly, they cannot be a prohibited individual. Another client, David, asked, do you have any suggestion where I can buy used guns or firearm in California? Of course, you can potentially buy at pawn shop or consignment FFL dealers in your city, or calguns.com or gunbroker.com are two examples where you can buy online, or through a friend or a neighbor. Once you struck a deal, then A, if the seller is in the state of California, then both parties must show up at the same time during the appointment to transfer the purchased firearm. This is a requirement by the California Department of Justice. Or B, if the seller is out of state, then the seller will be required to ship the firearm to the FFL dealer to process per federal law. Once the dealer receives the firearm, then they will arrange an appointment with the buyer to start the transfer process. I know it doesn't make sense that they allow out-of-state individuals to ship, but not someone from California. Folks, I don't make the rules, I just follow them. You can read more about this law by reading Chapter 5, Procedure for Private Party Firearm Transactions, Section 28050 through 28070. That's all, gun lovers. Thank you for listening in. This is Mike, your local firearm dealer, signing off.